Hello and a very warm welcome whether you're watching in the UK or around the world. On the eve of the World Cup, FIFA President Gianni Infantino has hit out at criticism towards the host, Qatar. He accused Western critics of Qatar's records on the treatment of migrant workers of hypocrisy. Football's governing body has come under fire for taking the World Cup to Qatar because of the country's human rights record. Mr. Infantino said he had difficulty understanding criticism of the tournament.
I'm proud to have this FIFA sign on my jacket. It's not easy every day to read all these critics for decisions which have been taken 12 years ago when nobody of us was there. And now everyone knows that we have to make the best out of it, and we have to make the best World Cup ever. I think for what we Europeans have been doing in the last 3,000 years around the world, we should be apologizing for the next 3,000 years before starting to give moral lessons.
Well, after his statement, our sports editor Dan Rowan challenged Mr. Infantino on some of his comments.
You accuse some in the West, the critics, of being hypocritical. Isn't it hypocritical to, on the one hand, say that FIFA stands for equality and non-discrimination, while at the same time supporting an event in a country which has discriminatory laws?
If you were to exclude all the countries who have discriminatory laws or other human rights problems, who are playing football only maybe you and me, maybe. Because I don't know, I know that me, I don't discriminate, but you, I don't know, I hope not. So, I think it is real that football brings people together and unites the world. I think we have to do that. And I think we have to welcome everybody in Qatar. Gay people are welcome in Qatar. And we need to engage. We don't need to provoke, we need to engage. We need to discuss how many gay people were prosecuted in Europe. Sorry. It was a process. We went through a process. We seem to forget.
Well, I'm joined by our sports correspondent, John Watson, who is in Doha. John, I suppose the idea is that they want to take attention away from the criticism and get it focused on the football. This press conference seems to be achieving the exact opposite.
I think that's right, Ben. I think you just had to look at the way Gianni Infantino was holding himself there. He looked very cross, he looked very angry. He's obviously responding to the negative headlines, the negative coverage that has come FIFA's way ever since the awarding of this controversial World Cup to Qatar. But as you say, if he was hoping to take the spotlight away from some of those issues and put the focus onto the football, which, as we know, gets underway here tomorrow with the opening match, the host Qatar taking on Ecuador, then I think perhaps he's mistaken, isn't he? It's worth looking at some of the other comments that he said in that near hour-long monologue where, as I say, he did look frustrated, at times almost angry. He went on to say he's not gay, he's not a migrant worker, but he says he knows what it's like because he was bullied for having red hair. He's accused the Western media of hypocrisy in its reporting of the treatment of migrant workers. Remember, it's been reported that 6,500 migrant workers have died here in Qatar since the tournament was awarded some 12 years ago. Qatari authorities say that figure has been misrepresented because it doesn't directly attribute the numbers who died within that, who were working on World Cup related projects and related infrastructure projects in a country, let's not forget, where only 15% of the population are Qatari nationals. He himself as well, FIFA, have written a letter to member associations, teams competing in this World Cup, saying it's now time to focus on the football. The FA and the FA of Wales responded by saying simply human rights are for all. These issues, it appears, are not going to go away anytime soon. And as you say, if Gianni Infantino hoped that this press conference would draw a line on some of that and allow the football now to take centre stage, well, perhaps I think with these comments, he is very much mistaken.
And John, there was also this issue of alcohol and whether fans will be able to drink alcohol. I don't know if you've had a chance to speak to people and what they make of I suppose the uncertainty around the rules, which I gather have now been clarified.
It's striking the right balance, and I think that's something that the organisers and FIFA have been trying to do ever since this tournament, I guess, was awarded to Qatar. It was always going to be a very different experience for many, a very different experience for fans. And as we know, watching a football match back in the UK, a lot of that for fans involves enjoying a beer before a football match. It was looking as though beer was going to be sold at all 8 of the World Cup venues, but yesterday FIFA rode back on that under pressure from the Qatari organisers. They'd already been asked to make the visibility of the beer kiosks less visible to fans going into the stadiums, and then they decided to issue that blanket ban on the sale of all alcohol at stadiums on match days, which will make it a different experience for many. But as we know, and the fans will be arriving here, do you necessarily need to enjoy alcohol to have a beer to enjoy the football? And let's not forget, this is being staged in an Islamic country for the very first time, where, as we know, drinking alcohol outdoors is against the law. And that was the balance that the Qatari organisers were going to have to try and make, as we know, with so many of these other issues at play. But it was just one part, wasn't it? One part of the spotlight that fell on this tournament and how the organisers were going to deal with that. But yeah, that move will change the World Cup experience for those fans who are going to be coming here for this tournament. But it is one small part of a number of bigger issues which are really at play, Ben, in the lead up to this World Cup, one like no other.
Indeed. John, thank you very much. John Watson there, our sports correspondent, live in Doha in Qatar.